every year I do this and I think, okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit next year. And then sure as the world, I don't. The recording that's on Apple Music and Spotify right now is literally done in Adam's office and in a closet in Florida. I typically try to remove myself emotionally a little bit. Nothing crazy, but enough to where I can get through the song. The problem was we lost the baby on Friday, and they couldn't do anything about it until the following Monday. And the last thing I feel like doing is singing,
and you
praising the Lord and all that.
And you did it?
Quite frankly, I was mad at God. And he said, well, I got to thinking about this little baby, and then I got to think about your grandfather. And he goes, your grandfather's going to be the first one to carry that little baby down the golden streets. Regardless of what crowd I'm in front of, ultimately, I want to point them towards the hope that I have in my heart. The southern steps of the Temple of Jerusalem, singing about the second coming of Christ as I'm actually looking at Mount Zion as I'm singing. He said, but polyps are fed by a blood vessel, and so this thing's just going to keep getting bigger, and eventually you won't be able to make a sound. I couldn't talk back to her or nothing. I think it was her favorite 5 days of our whole marriage. I guess, though, if it came down to it, my favorite place to sing is my home church.
Welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred. I'm Rich Roth, and my guest today is Charles Billingsley. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Good. How are you, Rich?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I heard you on the morning line just the other day, and the shade's down, but if we lift it up, we can see if your car's safe. I heard you ran into a little trouble over there.
Yes. Or a little trouble ran into me. No, it's fine. It was a very, very minor thing. But with cars these days, even just a minor bump can cause all kinds of mess. And so, unfortunately, it sort of did. It cracked my bumper, which means a whole new bumper. You know how that goes. But,
Yep.
oh, well, it is what it is.
That's the problem with parallel parking, right?
I guess so. I was not expecting that. I was just innocently parked. But bless her heart, she felt really bad. I think she went to put her car in gear and her hand slipped or something, and it didn't go in gear, and she let off the brake too early and rolled right into me. But she felt really bad about it. I tried my best to be nice.
Yeah, those cars nowadays, I mean, you're right. Any little thing and the whole thing's done. And
Yeah. I thought it was just going to be a minor thing, but then when I looked underneath, there's this little carbon fiber strip, and it got cracked in half, and that's not good.
Well, I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't happen again.
Me too, because I'm parked in the same spot. So we'll see.
I guess there's that theory of it can't happen twice in the same spot, right?
Yeah, you never know. That would be really weird if it did. That would be like, Murphy's Law or something. But hopefully we're all right.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for joining me. I know this is a big time of year for you.
It really is. It's crazy. We are in the middle of, every year I do this, and I've been doing it for 33 years now. Every year I do this and I think, okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit next year. And then sure as the world, I don't. I have a hard time saying no, Rich, which is nice to even have the option, honestly. And so I feel so blessed to be able to do this still after all these years that I don't, I just take as many opportunities as I can, especially at Christmas time. We all know that from Thanksgiving to Christmas, it's just going to be nuts. And it is.
And you've obviously got a bunch going on, and we're talking about the concert series and all the musical performances and everything that you do. But you do a lot more than that. I mean, very involved at Thomas Road, very involved at Liberty University as well, on tour. I mean, you got a lot going on.
It's a lot, and yet I love every bit of it so much. And after doing it so long now, I feel like I'm just now at a place where I actually know what I'm doing. So I really I enjoy it now probably more than ever, So
I heard from a little birdie that you got started on your singing career on a dare.
Yes, that's true. It was a big joke.
Really?
Yes.
I guess the joke's on them now.
I guess so. My buddy was, he was standing in front of me on a Sunday morning, and I was standing around all my football playing buddies, and we were a part of a a really big church in Jacksonville, Florida, called First Baptist Church. And in fact, it's the first church in America with a full orchestra. And so, when they would play and the choir would sing, you could sing real loud and nobody would hear you. So I was just carrying on and acting stupid and singing all operatic-like and just being, goofy. And the guy in front of me hears me and he turns around and goes, "Hey, man, you got a good voice. You need to sing for our Sunday school class." Well, the Sunday school class he was referring to was our senior high department, which had about 600 students in it. And so my immediate response was absolutely not, But the next week he comes to me and he hands me a cassette tape, which for those of you listening who are under 30, you don't even have a reference for that. But anyway, and it was a track. It was an accompaniment track by an artist named Steve Green. And he said, "Learn this song, you're on next week." Well, he did it in front of all my buddies again. So now it's a big joke and it's a dare, basically. And so...
And you're how old at this time? High school?
I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
And he hands it to me and I'm like, whatever. So I learned the song and got up the next Sunday morning and I don't know, it was just the weirdest feeling. It just felt like the most natural thing in the world to be up there doing that. And that's what started the whole mess. And the worship pastor and the orchestra director were in the back of the room. And I had been playing in the church orchestra as a trumpet player because, I knew music and stuff, but I did not sing. And he said, "Man, I think you should sing a song for our little choir tour that we're doing with the youth choir." And so that's kind of what started the whole thing. And I've been doing it ever since.
So you played football.
Mm-hmm.
You're with your football buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing how kids can be in high school, sometimes football players and, the kids in the choir or the musicians or whatever, they don't always hang out together. Let's just put it that way.
No.
So was that like some extra, like, man, do I want to do this? Or...
Well, yeah, that's part of the reason I was like, no way, because I just didn't feel like it was going to be something that, I would want to do. And yet, at the same time, it was just something that felt right. And so I did it. And, to my shock, people actually responded positively. And it became a thing in high school. I started singing for all kinds of mess in my high school and was, still playing football and wrestling. But, it was like I wasn't in the choir. So that was, I didn't have quite that, that division that happens naturally with kids that age.
Right.
But at the same time, I would do like the national anthem and stuff for some games and, little things like that. And so, and then my high school youth group, they started a little quartet out of that, a Southern gospel quartet. And we called ourselves the Four Gospels, which now that I look back, that's the most arrogant of names, I think. I don't even know which one I was, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But, at the same time, it was a great learning experience. We did a little album my senior year with that quartet and got some good experience recording and stuff. And then went off to school in Alabama on a vocal scholarship that I tried out for. And so that's what started it, really.
So, a vocal scholarship, when you just started singing as a junior, that's a pretty quick turnaround. Was this 100% natural? Did you start working on it, taking lessons, different things like that?
It was 100% natural. But at the same time, the people I would imitate and stuff when I was in high school was like people like Pavarotti and stuff, and I always had an
all
interest.
The kids love him in high school.
Oh yeah, he was a huge him and Def Leppard and Journey. They were probably the top three in the mid '80s. But it's so funny because I loved him so much. I loved his singing. I remember he came to Jacksonville when I was a senior, and for my birthday present, with my own money, I bought a ticket to go see him And I went by myself because I couldn't talk any of my family going to see
Or your buddies, I'm sure.
No, the football guys, they definitely were not in on that deal. And so I went by myself, and I was just mesmerized by this man. So when I went to Samford, I went on a vocal scholarship. I had to learn an Italian aria and had to, and I had to get coaching because I'd never sung in Italian. So yeah, all that was natural. But I knew that what I was getting into as a music major at Samford meant that I was going to have to take voice, learn Italian, learn French, learn German, and understand the nuances of how to sing correctly. And thankfully, I had a wonderful teacher. His name was Russell Hedger. And he was wonderful because he would not just teach our lessons. He would be in his studio at 7 a.m. every morning. And he would tell all of his students, look, anytime you want to just come in and vocalize, come in. I'll work with you. And so it was beautiful because I didn't just have my 1 hour private lesson as a credit. I had access to him anytime he was not with a student. He was just there. He was amazing. Mm. And so I started going in at least 3-4 days a week in the morning to work with this man who was teaching me an Italian open throat method called the bel canto method. And it was because of all those extra moments in that studio with him that he got rid of all my crutches that I had developed in just 2 years of singing incorrectly. And it's amazing. Like in the process of that, I lost my voice as a freshman for probably 4 months. I couldn't sing at all because it was such a massive shift in how to sing well. But I'm so grateful for it because now, 33 years later, at 55 years old, I feel like I'm singing as good or better than I've ever sung. So and it all goes back to him.
So for those of us who don't know much about singing well, put that little proviso in there. But for those of us who don't know much about singing well, it's not just a natural gift. It's something you really, truly have to work at, like anything else. And I mean, you talked about some of the different methods and whatever. What's all involved in that?
Well, that's a yes and answer in the sense that a lot of it is natural. Mm-hmm. If you naturally cannot hold a pitch or hear pitches, if you're in tune or out of tune, naturally can't carry a melody, then you're going to have a hard time becoming a good singer because you're having a hard time just even hearing correct tones. So there is a certain amount of natural ability that has to come with singing.
So that's not something that folks can really develop if they worked at it?
You can, but only to a certain extent, I think. If you don't naturally hear if you're in tune or not, or you don't naturally have the ability to make a melody or sing along with a song and be on the correct pitches, then you're going to have a real hard time developing that because, and I mean, I guess people call it being tone deaf. Mm-hmm. But if you, on the other hand, are not tone deaf and you actually can hear melody and sing along with it, but there's just some intonation problems or you're losing your voice quickly because you're straining it, now you can develop that, but it does take a lot to get rid of the crutches and to learn how to sing correctly from your diaphragm. A lot of people look at the voice as being the only mechanical piece that's making tone. When that is true when it comes to actually forming the pitch, but what's causing all that to stay in tune and to stay supported is really your air. So singing is 98% air. And it's just a matter of how you're allowing that air to flow through your vocal folds so that you're either singing softly, you're singing loudly, you're singing under control, you're singing in tune, you're singing out of tune. All of that's controlled by your diaphragm and by your air. And so we spent a great deal of time in my college days just learning how to breathe. And literally for 4 years straight, Rich, I sang the E vowel on either a C, D, or an E for 4 years. That was my lesson. Because all he was trying to do was get me to control my air going through my vocal folds while at the same time forming a proper vowel.
So, like, to try and compare this to, something else, I mean, guys can be super fast, but you need to be trained to run the right way and the right stride,
or else you'll injure yourself.
Yeah. But also just to be able to go faster, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be naturally fast, but, then there's the training involved. And when you talk about breathing from your diaphragm and all that, is that just kind of muscle memory? Like you just have to train yourself to do it? And
it
you
is
don't even
now.
think about
it? After 33 years it is. But boy, when I started as a freshman, I had all kinds of crutches doing it wrongly and everything. And so because of that, that's why I lost my voice. But, I knew I had a natural ability to sing. My teachers told me I did. When I would sing in front of crowds, the response told me I did. But I also knew that if I was going to be really good and have any longevity, then I needed to be, in a sense, like Michael Jordan. I mean, he was a good natural basketball player, but he became the best because he was also the hardest working.
Yep.
And I am by no means the best, but I've been able to do it for 33 years because, to be honest with you, I still work at it. I mean, I don't do a lot of vocalizing, but I do a lot of singing all day long, every day, just in the car, wherever. And every time I sing, even doing a concert, a 2-hour concert, I'm still working on stuff, just making sure that, the placement of the vowel, how I'm holding, how I'm using these consonants, my breath control, all those things are things you never really stop working on. Pavarotti, his world, that the world of these wonderful Italian tenors, their average years of training before they would even do their first performance was 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And in Italian is the easiest language to sing in because they only have 7 vowel sounds and it's 7 pure vowels. Like, when they sing an E, it's an E. If you and I sing an E, it can be E, there's all kinds of vowels that we have for each vowel. Italians have 7 and that's it. And so they're the purest it's the purest of languages, I think, as far as singing. And so because of that, we spent a lot of time singing Italian because it was all about getting those vowels right. So
in addition to working on your singing, how many languages do you know?
Oh, I don't know any of them.
Oh, you don't know any?
No, I just know how to pronounce them. That was the funny.
So do you know the words you're singing?
That was the funniest part. The funniest part is I had to take all these diction classes so I could pronounce anything in Italian, but I just didn't know what it meant, except for amore. I know amore means love. So we would do these juries, to get through graduation stuff. I'd do these private, recitals and juries and stuff. And then the teachers would go, "So what is this song talking about?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." I wasn't exactly the best student, but I could pronounce anything in French, German, and Italian, or I used to be able to. I just didn't know what any of it meant. I know Nacht means night in German. So there's a few words I know.
So you're singing these beautiful songs in these foreign languages, and you have no idea what you're even
utterly
talking
clueless.
About. Has anyone ever, I don't know if called you on it's the right thing, but man, that was so beautiful. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh, yes. They would call me on it every time I do a jury. And there was this one professor named Miss Owsley. She gets so mad at me because she's like, "You have the most beautiful voice, and yet you don't study at all what these songs mean." I was like, it was all I could do just to memorize this thing. Good grief.
How many things do I have to work on?
Yeah, this is a lot. But I'm a little better at that now. I don't sing in a lot of Italian as it is, but when I do, I actually learn what it means, And I've recorded a few of Italian things. We did a remake of Time to Say Goodbye, which is part English, part Italian. We've done The Prayer a lot, which was the Celine Dion, Andrea Bocelli duet that's so famous. And, so there's a few that I've done. And I'll actually go now and learn what it means. But when I was in college, I just didn't care. All I wanted to do was get through the day.
Like so many of the rest of us.
Yes, like everybody, like every student I know.
Can I just pass the class, please?
I had wonderful short-term memory.
You know, you referenced that that dare, right, in high school where you really started. Was that the first time that you ever really knew that you had a gift?
I think the first time I realized I really had a gift was that first time when I sang, because the response was unusually positive. It shocked me. I think it shocked everybody. But the other thing I think that helped me from a gifted standpoint was that the crowds also didn't bother me. You know, like my wife, she just, if you want to freak my wife out, ask her to get in front of a crowd and speak. You know, that's not something she wants to do.
And that never bothered you?
No, never did. In fact, the bigger the crowd, the happier I am. It's the small crowds that are the hard ones.
Why?
Because you can see everybody, and it's usually in a tight, close space. And so, you know, you're not just able to see everybody, but now I really have to control how I'm singing, because it's going to get really loud and boisterous if you're 5 feet away. And if there's only, 20 of you, I know exactly how you're responding. And if you're looking at me or if you're bored and looking at your phone, I can see what everybody's doing. So it's typically in those situations, I just close my eyes and try to disappear. But then I can't see the lyrics. And so that creates another problem. So, but 20,000 people, no problem. That's easy.
You said you have to see the lyrics. You don't have everything memorized.
Well, here we are back to college again, Rich. Listen.
And different languages of the whole deal, right?
Yeah, even English is a problem. It's funny because I used to be able to memorize songs like crazy, but I think what happened is that after recording 25 records or so, my memory bank just got full. And I need to get another gig or two up here in order to get more songs in there. But, I think, and the other thing is we'll do on any given week, goodness, I'll probably sing 30 to 40 different songs.
Wow.
You got all your worship stuff on Sunday morning. Usually 2 or 3 of those are fairly new. And then, tomorrow night I've got a concert, and then Friday night I've got a concert, and then next Sunday I'm doing different songs at a different church. And, so I'm always in this process of learning a bunch of stuff that I haven't ever done, relearning stuff that I used to do. And so in the mix of all that, sometimes I just can't remember all the lyrics. Now, if it's songs I've been doing for years, that's no problem, usually. Until in concert, I'll say something like, now listen to these words, you're going to love these, and then I promptly forget them. Done that a bunch too.
Or if they're in another language, you don't even know what they mean.
That's true. I could just jump to Italian.
You're going to love this. I don't know what it means, but you're going to love it.
Sing Amore a bunch.
Talk about writing original music. I heard you talking, to Mary and Brian the other day about your mom passed away about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago in September. And, I heard it was Alzheimer's. My mom was vascular dementia, so I kind of have
same.
But you wrote a song especially for her. How much of the music that you do is original?
About 30%. I'm not a prolific writer. I got friends that are. And so it's usually those friends that I'll call first. Like even with this song, I mean, I typically what happens is I'll have an idea for a song, but then I go to somebody who's a prolific writer to help me finish the idea. I called my friend Tony Woods in this situation. I said, look, man, it's just dawned on me. It's going to be the first holidays I've spent without my mom. And I feel like this idea would resonate in the hearts of just about anybody who's lost a loved one, spending their first Christmas without them. And I said, so would you help me kind of formulate some thoughts? And then what I'll do is I'll write some thoughts and some phrases, even a few. Sometimes I'll have a verse written. Sometimes I'll have the hook of a chorus written or whatever. And I'll send it to Tony typically. He's my favorite lyricist that I've worked with, him and another guy named Dave Clark. And I'll just send it to him and say, hey, help me complete this idea. And sometimes Tony will send me back, okay, what do you think about this direction? And I'll say, okay, well, let's try this. And then other times Tony will literally 2 hours later send me an entirely finished lyric and go, what do you think? And I'll be like, okay, well, I want to change this line here. How about if I change it to this? And, and it's just that process.
So it's really like a collaboration.
This song here,
yeah.
I mean, literally, I gave him the idea, sent him a few ideas of just some lines. And I mean, the next morning, I have this completed lyric in my email box. And I read it and I was like, this is wonderful. It was just beautiful. And so I sat down with Adam Lancaster, who's on our team and has been traveling with me for 23 years. And we got some music together for it, and he's pretty quick too. And then we were in the middle of doing a remake of Kenny Loggins' song, Celebrate Me Home, last year for Christmas. And so I was working with a producer on that, and he got involved. And between him and me and Adam, we finished the song that Tony had sent us the lyric for. And what's nice is, as the artist and as the guy who's going to be performing it, I typically will have final say on what feels right to me. And I'm not a big chord structure person, but I know a chord that I don't like, and I know one that I do like, and I'll just kind of have them keep fishing until it feels right. The phrasing of the line is real important to me, so we keep working on that until it feels right, and then once it's comfortable, we'll record a little demo. Usually, it's literally Adam at a piano or on a guitar, and we'll just record it into our phones, and then eventually put a little demo track to it. And honestly, the demo track that we made is the one that everybody hears. We never really went into some fancy studio session. We just kept the demo. And I recorded the demo in the closet of a place in Florida.
Really?
Yeah. So the recording that's on Apple Music and Spotify right now is literally done in Adam's office and in a closet in Florida.
So you're just like, wait, the acoustics aren't good here. Let me go with the closet.
No, literally, that's what we did. And we hung some foam and closed some doors and put some things over the windows, and that was it. But it's amazing. I mean, like, Billie Eilish's last record was done, like, I think in her bedroom, because in digital world now, you can record so differently. You can do a whole record from your own living room if you want to.
When you perform a song like the one you were just kind of talking about that you wrote for your mom, about your mom.
Yeah.
Is that difficult to perform? Do you get emotional thinking about it, or have you just done it so many times where it just kind of becomes second nature?
No, it's difficult.
Is it?
There's certain songs to this day. I mean, like, there's another song I wrote when we lost our unborn baby and my grandfather committed suicide all in the same 3-day period. I wrote a song called Golden Streets, and there's still time, and that was 1998. There's still times that I get emotional in the middle of that song. So I have to kind of remove myself emotionally from the moment, because some people, like my friend Tarana Green, she can cry and sing at the same time. I cannot. If I'm crying, I cannot sing. It constricts my voice and I just can't do it. So I typically try to remove myself emotionally a little bit. Nothing crazy, but enough to where I can get through the song. I still want to deliver the lyrics, so I don't want to be just completely removed. But at the same time, I have to separate myself from the emotion enough to where I can still stay in control of my voice. And, because otherwise it just becomes a great big distraction to everybody. The lyric is what I'm trying to get across, so I want to make sure they don't miss this. So, but yeah, it can be hard at times. We were doing a TV show in Charlotte just last week, and I got in the middle of the second verse, and it suddenly just one of the lines hit me, and I got a little emotional. So I had to stop and start over, and that kind of thing. So it can happen for sure. Typically, I just try to think of the Dallas Cowboys because I've been a fan my whole life, and they just make me so mad most of the time. But it just bothers me just enough to where I can get through the song. Isn't that weird?
I feel bad for you, but I'm a Jets fan.
Oh, well, listen, brother, I feel your pain,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Lord help us. So,
Thank you. It's been a long life for
yeah.
me.
But it's funny how you almost have to kind of emotionally just distract yourself just enough to where you get through it without appearing as though you're not engaged at all,
And I imagine that would be hard too when you're performing because you know the meaning of the song where your audience may not.
Right. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with the setup. I mean, in the setup of the song is typically where I'll usually get emotional instead of during the song, and that's okay there because I can recover. But yeah, those moments they're hard, but they're also the moments in concerts that will arrest people's attention the most. Either that or when they're laughing. So in every concert. I love it when we've laughed, we've cried, we've had we've kind of run the gamut of emotion because that means people stayed engaged with me and they were following my story,
And you had mentioned in that 3-day window, losing your grandfather and your unborn child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know that in a lot of situations we hear about artists, who can take that and use that but I can't imagine. I mean, how hard was that for you?
Well, it was difficult. It was a Monday morning when my grandfather shot himself. I was in Mississippi. We had to go out there and deal with all that. And my wife was 19 weeks pregnant. And when we came back, we had a doctor's appointment. Got up for the doctor's appointment the next morning. That's when we found out we'd lost the baby. And it was the next morning I had to go do a concert. And the problem was we lost the baby on Friday and they couldn't do anything about it until the following Monday. And so all weekend long, she's carrying this baby knowing that it's not alive. And I think the worst moment, I don't know if I've ever even told this. The worst moment was when we came back it was a morning appointment, Friday morning. And when we were going home, we stopped in this little Chinese restaurant just to grab lunch. We're by ourselves in this restaurant, and in comes this cute little blonde who was clearly 9 months pregnant, about to have her child. And my wife turns and sees her, and I'm telling you, whew, it was rough. It was just rough. So anyway, the next morning I'm sitting on my couch and I'm thinking about all this and I have to go Saturday night to go do a concert in Dalton, Georgia. And the last thing I feel like doing is singing,
And you
praising the Lord and all that.
you did it?
Quite frankly, I was mad at God.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm thinking about what on earth I'm going to sing that night and got to do this. And my best friend called me out of nowhere, and he goes, "Hey man, I know that you've had a rough week." He goes, "Was your grandfather a Christian?" And I said, "Yeah, he was. He just quit." And he said, "Well, I got to thinking about this little baby, and then I got to thinking about your grandfather." And he goes, "Your grandfather's going to be the first one to carry that little baby down the golden streets." And when he said that, I had one of those yellow, legal pads right next to the phone, and I just grabbed it and I wrote down the words "Golden Streets" and hung up the phone with him and wrote that lyric that morning. It's one of the few songs that I like literally wrote every word, and then I had to go do that concert. But I mean, it became one of those songs that I've been singing now for 20, 25 years, and it still means a lot to me and a lot to everybody else. But, it's typically, when we talk about songwriting, it's typically those kind of moments in my life that trigger songs for me. So unfortunately, most of my songs are written out of some sort of heartache or problem or situation that I'm dealing with. But I figure if I'm dealing with it, then somebody else probably is too. And they also tend to be the songs in my catalog that speak the most to people. So,
and as much as your music is based in Christianity, and you're talking about the fact that it's these difficult things, these tragedies, whatever, that kind of helps inspire you. I mean, and you touched on it in the Golden Street story, but it's, at some point I would think you really have to question things.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I don't think God has any problem with that. He's big God. He can handle our questions. He can handle our doubts, and he can handle our fears. The question is, are we just going to leave it at that, or will we choose at some point to trust him? And I've had to choose to trust him on many occasions. When I lost my voice with the polyp on the left side of my vocal fold, I thought I'd never sing again. Those were some difficult days, scary. Because if I'm not singing, Rich, you don't know me very well, but I literally have no other skill set whatsoever. So
that's not true.
So I'm not sure I could make a living. So, that scared me. But, it's all those kind of moments that, first of all, help you identify with everybody else in that audience who's there to hear you sing. You have a connection with them because they understand that your life's just not all a bed of roses. But to leave it at that, to me, is the great tragedy. That's why I love to sing Christian music, because you don't just leave an audience with the fact that we're all wallowing in our own misery. No, there's actually hope on the other side of this. And that's one reason I love the Christmas season, because we'll be in front of a lot of what I would call a secular audience that doesn't go to church, but at the same time, they love Christmas music, and Christmas is all about the hope that Christ has to offer. So it's a beautiful thing to me, and especially that Christmas season, because in our Christmas concerts, man, we'll do a bunch of, fun, rollicky Santa Claus goof stuff, and it's a blast. But at the same time, I also get to turn that corner and go to the real meaning of the season. It's the same reason I did a jazz record a couple years ago. I love singing these classic, Sinatra, Americana, Tony Bennett, just these great classics that are wonderful songs of hope and love and peace and kindness and goodness, all of which really are virtues that God gives us, but they're not necessarily songs that are about God. But it puts me in front of a different audience, and I love that, instead of just being in front of the church crowd, But regardless of what crowd I'm in front of, ultimately, I want to point them towards the hope that I have in my heart.
Has it always primarily been Christian music for you? Yeah,
that's where I started, and so it was always that until I did that jazz record, and that's opened up some really neat doors into doing things with some symphonies around the country, and just some different kinds of events like couples nights, dates nights, different sorts of halls, and a different audience. And I love it. I wish I did more of it, honestly, but we just, I think after 33 years, we got so ingrained in the church world that that's where most of our offers come from. But I would love to do more.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you see yourself doing more different types of things moving forward?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, and every once in a while, neat things will come along, like the Kennedy Center this year, out of nowhere, asked us to do their Christmas show. And then the bad news is that they didn't actually have one. So it's not like they were hiring me to come sing for their show. They were like, no, we need a show. And I was like, okay.
Get to work.
And I said, well, and it was like a month ago. I said, well, look, it's too late to create something from nothing, but I could bring my show to you and we can tailor it some. And so that's what we're doing. And it's really cool.
Yeah. And you've performed at a lot of historic places in front of all different types of crowds. You talked about 20 people or thousands of people. You know, what's the coolest thing? What's the coolest event you've ever played at, or the coolest venue, or
man?
Because there's been a lot of great stuff.
There has been.
Is there anything that stands out, maybe a little bit more above everything else?
I mean, you know, Carnegie is always special, and I say always because this Monday I'll be there for the 6th time. And I never thought I'd be there once, you know, so that's cool. Singing in some of these arenas for a lot of these events we've done is really neat. You know, it's the Women of Joy events we do are really fun, and there's 10,000 women out there, and they're singing at the top of their lungs, and it's a blast. But a few of the ones that really stick out to me, I would say the southern steps of the Temple of Jerusalem. Singing about the second coming of Christ as I'm actually looking at Mount Zion as I'm singing. That's pretty powerful. Singing in the Castle Church where Martin Luther is buried. I was standing right between Martin Luther's grave and Philip Melanchthon, who was his right-hand man, his grave, and I'm standing between them. And singing A Mighty Fortress Is Our God, which is the great hymn that he wrote. That was a pretty cool moment. I think another cool moment was singing in the same church that Handel was raised in. Another pretty cool moment was doing a concert at St. Paul's church outside of Rome, where he's buried right beneath where I was standing. Another pretty cool moment was singing in Italy at St. Mark's, where St. Mark is buried right below where I was standing. Another pretty cool moment was at Oxford Church at Oxford, England. That was pretty cool. I mean, there's been some really cool moments.
Is there any place that you haven't played that you'd like to?
Sydney Opera House.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been to Australia. That's the first one that comes to mind. I always wanted to go to Brooklyn Tab, and now I've been there several times, and that was pretty neat. Some of the really young contemporary churches that I've never been to, I'd love to go there. But honestly, I can't think offhand of a church or a venue that I haven't been to that really sticks out that I'm just dying to go to. We've played the Lincoln Center, the Kennedy Center now is multiple times, and Carnegie, and there's some really cool places, man. And now that I look back, I'm like, wow, for a guy
hearing you rattle them off, I just sit there and go, wow.
Well, I guess though, if it came down to it, my favorite place to sing is my home church.
Tell me about coming to Lynchburg.
This crazy thing. Dr. Falwell called me in 2001. I was on the road full time. Was just doing all kinds of events all over, and he called me and wanted me to come do to be here once a month, and then he called me the next day and asked me to come 40 times a year, and I was like,
there
whoa,
are
that's
40 months in a year. Right?
No, 40 Sundays, yeah, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot more than once a month. One thing leads to another, and I don't know. I guess I'd been praying that I could be at home a little more, but at the same time still increase the breadth of what I was doing. And so I called him back, I guess about 3 or 4 days later, and said, okay, I think I'm supposed to do this. I don't know why, but I feel led to do this, but I need about 8 months to transition because I've got a lot of dates between now and then. And he was like, no problem. And then I felt like, well, if I'm going to be here 40 Sundays a year, I might as well move up there. And at that point, 2001, I mean, Lynchburg had a lot of growing to do, and there was not a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
Were you raised here too? Did you?
I'm originally from New York. I moved down in like the mid '90s, so not
Okay, so
not
you
too
know,
long
I
before
mean,
you. And Ward's Road wasn't even a thing back then. There was no
there was
Target.
nothing. There was nothing. And so I was like, man, I'm moving to this little town.
Right.
Oh, good, from Atlanta. But, you know, it just felt right. And that's when I met Adam Lancaster. He was a junior in college. And I didn't realize till I got here that Dr. Fall was going to want me to be over all the music at Liberty too, and all the convocations and everything.
Surprise!
So
it's kind of like,
well, that's kind of how it went back there. Back then, if you worked for the church, you also worked for the school. You know, it's like just everybody. And that's when I realized I needed help. And Adam was just there, and was. That's when I discovered how gifted he was at playing everything, and so we just started teaming up and trying to oversee literally 13 worship services a week between the two entities, and I was on the road still 100 dates a year, and it was just craziness, but we survived, and it was good for my family. It was good for me because my wife and I, we had a little 1-year-old and a little 2-year-old, and I needed to be home more, and because I had averaged about 230 nights a year on the road for about 10 years at that point, and it was important for me to be home more. And Dr. Falwell gave me that opportunity. And the more I worked with that man, the more I just loved him. He is the funniest, kindest, most generous. I watched him empty his pockets so many times, just giving things away. You know, money was not a thing to him, but he needed a whole lot of money to build that school. But it just kind of went in and went right back out because he never used it for himself. He just always was trying to build this organization. And now, you know, because of his vision and because of the generosity of a whole lot of people, Liberty is absolutely rocking. And it's been fun for me because I've got to witness all this, you know, and it's a miracle.
You left Lynchburg and then you came back.
Yeah. And then left Lynchburg and came back again. Yeah. After 3 years of being here, one of my heroes called me to come help him. And I had just read this guy's book on worship. His name was David Jeremiah. And I also had a huge desire in my heart to live in Southern California. And when he called, I just felt like, oh, this is a sign. I'm supposed to move to California and work with my hero, and this is going to be perfect. And I got out there and realized it wasn't. Adam went with me. I got out there and realized, you know, I think I was supposed to do this, but just for a season. So we came back. I came back 4 months before Dr. Falwell died. And that's when the great transition started happening here. And I was really honored and blessed to be a part of all that. And it was crazy. Those were some crazy days. Oh, man. But after 10 more years, I went back out to help Dr. Jeremiah again. And 2 years later, was back here again. So, you know, I feel like both times we went, it was the right thing to do. It was a good season, but this is home. And so I don't think I'm going anywhere again unless God just speaks to me audibly, or, you know, I get swallowed by a fish or something. Lynchburg is our home. We love it. We have great friends here. I've got a little piece of land out in Good, and we just enjoy it. It's a special place.
You mentioned earlier the issue that you had with your vocal cords. Surgery, wondering if you'd ever sing again.
Mm-hmm. That was scary.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I
did you have your voice insured? We hear this all the time.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
About
from
people.
Lloyd's of London.
Yeah, did you?
No, I did not.
Do you now?
I wish I did. No, you know, it's a weird deal. I was singing a concert in Florida, and I just went up to sing some note that no big deal. Do it every night. And somehow something just happened. It's like I stripped a gear or something. It's like the brakes going out in your car, So I waited another song and went up nothing was there. And I could feel something was off. Came back, waited about 3 days and tried to sing again. I remember in that day, one of my little boys had this was back in 2008. One of my boys had a field trip to Monticello.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove him over there. I was one of the chaperones, but I remember sitting in the car waiting on them to finish their little tour, and I was trying to sing, and it was worse than it was 3 days before. I was like, okay, this isn't right. I waited another week or so and went to a doctor named Chris Maughan. He was an ENT, and he lived in my neighborhood down the road. And he checked, and he goes, oh, yeah, no wonder you're having a hard time singing. You got a polyp on your left vocal fold. I said, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, polyps are different than nodes. Nodes are like calluses, and if you just don't use your vocal folds for a while, they'll go away. He said, but polyps are fed by a blood vessel, and so this thing's just going to keep getting bigger, and eventually you won't be able to make a sound because it'll block your vocal folds. They won't be able to come together. And that was great news. And he goes, so you got a couple options. You can get surgery. He said, you're going to have surgery, but it's a matter of which treatment they do. And this was right about the time Julie Andrews had just been through her surgery and is done for. So I went to a couple other experts, and I went to see this doctor at UVA, and she said, well, I'm a student of a doctor named Pete Wu, and he created a laser procedure for this very thing. She goes, he works on all the great singers in New York and Metropolitan Opera and all that stuff. She goes, I think you should go see him. So we sent him the diagnosis. His office called back and they said, okay, in 2 weeks you can come up and he'll do the surgery. I was like, oh, 2 weeks? What? So, at that point I'd been canceling all kinds of dates because I couldn't sing.
Mm-hmm.
I just literally, I remember one particular night, it was the last time I tried to sing. I literally could not get a sound to come out of my voice.
Wow.
It was just, that was it. So I know I needed to do this. I go up there. He looks at me, he goes, And then he goes, okay. And so he said, open your mouth. They put the spray down my throat, and then, they set me up to where I can't move my head. And then he goes, don't cough and don't swallow. And then for the next 7 to 9 minutes, I'm watching on a screen him blast this polyp off my vocal folds, and I'm terrified because if I cough or swallow, but it's really hard to not do that while something's down your throat.
Involuntary, yeah.
It was awful. But when he was done, he goes, okay, I need you to hum very softly for me. I said, And he goes, okay, that's good. He said, now, not a sound for the next 5 days. Not one sound. He goes, don't cough, don't sneeze. I was like, how am I supposed to do? That's when I learned how to sneeze with my mouth open and not make a sound.
That's another skill.
Oh yeah, you're right. I do have a third skill. And so yeah, that was a crazy moment. I had to write everything on this pad of paper from my wife. I couldn't talk back to her or nothing. I think it was her favorite 5 days of our whole marriage. But in the process of all that, I spent a lot of time by myself, a lot of time reading, and honestly just told the Lord if he'd give me my voice back, I would take better care of it and use it for his glory. And so he it's crazy, but 3 weeks after that, I did my first concert, and I literally felt like I had a brand new voice. It was amazing.
Wow.
And honestly, ever since then, I've never really had any other problems. COVID almost killed me, but other than that, I'm good. So it's been good, and I'm loving this season in life. I feel like I've got a little more balance and a little more rest, and I just am eagerly going about all these dates and just having a blast.
2 more things real quick, because I know we're short on time.
What's that?
Another skill you've got. I hear you're quite a racquetball player. As a matter of fact, I hear you used to have a racquetball court in your house.
Yes, I did.
And you won the
when I
Commonwealth
lived at-
Games? Is that true too?
3 times, yeah. But
Can you
I
make a
don't.
living playing racquetball?
Oh, good. The number one player in the world makes about somewhere between 40,000 and 50,000 a year, I
So
think,
probably
playing
not,
racquetball.
yeah.
So yes, you can.
You're doing the right
but you're
thing.
not going to be a rich man. But it's just not that. It's a dying sport. So yes, I've developed an unusual set of skills playing racquetball. But there's not very many players in town. We don't have, but there's 8 courts total. Which is one reason when I built our house, I wanted to put a court in our house, but I didn't want it to be visible. So we had to dig down. And it was kind of neat because the design that we did, you could not tell there was a racquetball court in that basement. It came in very good handy when we went to the deratio because, it was 20 feet underground. So it was nice and cool in there with no power. But, and it was a great tornado shelter. But yeah, I've always had a love affair with that game since I was about a junior in high school. There's some great players in town. I used to be the top player in town. I'm not anymore. There's some young guys that have come up. A couple guys I'm thinking of, Trevor and Ryan, both that would both probably beat me. We haven't played in a while, but I'm pretty sure they would. I'm too old and slow anymore. But I still play quite a bit. I played last night and. I'm still in the top tier, but there's definitely some younger, faster guys out there now.
You've got a big, and you've already touched on it, but I wanted you to focus a little bit more on your concert, your event coming up here in Lynchburg. Tell folks a little bit about that.
Well, it's our second annual. I've always done a concert here and there, and then a couple of years back went down to the Academy and started doing some of the jazz things and using our symphony. It's a blast. But the last year we decided, let's do our Christmas concert. Let's bring the big band Christmas thing. And we moved it to Liberty's Concert Hall, which is a fabulous building. And we did it. It sold out. We had people just everywhere. And it was so fun that we decided, maybe we should do this annually. So I don't know how many years we'll do it in a row, but we're definitely doing it this year. So it's our second annual Big Band Christmas, and I always have some special guests, and it is truly a magical, fun, beautiful way to celebrate Christmas. I've got string section from the Lynchburg Symphony. We've got big band players from all over the state. Most of them are military, and they're fabulous. I've got 5 background vocalists. I've got a choir. We've got a fabulous rhythm section. And it's an all-star cast up there, and it is so stinking fun. And plus, the visuals in that room and the production level is really high. So if you're wanting to come see a really fun show that's actually in our town, because we don't do a whole lot of get dressed up, take your wife out to a nice dinner, and come to a really cool show here in town. The Academy puts on some, but there's not a great many of them. And so I feel like in a sense, we're almost filling a little bit of a void. And so that's what people do. They get dressed up, they go out with their wives for dinner or their husbands or their friends or whoever. And they come to the show, and it just makes for a really, really wonderful night. So,
And I can tell you love it.
I absolutely do. And it's tiring as all get out. I'll sing for, 2 hours, but it's so fun that I can't wait. I just can't wait for that night. So I hope people will come on out. We're at, we got 1,200 seats and about 950 of them are already taken. So we got a couple hundred seats left. So, and people can get their tickets at charlesbillingsley.com. So.
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. You go on there, you just click on it, and you can pick your seat, and and come on out. And by the way, if you've never been in that room, there's not a bad seat in the house. They're all just fantastic. So even if there's nothing but balcony left, still come because the balcony is in a lot of ways, the best seat in the house. That's where you see the best lighting. Sometimes it's the best sound. So, yeah, it's good.
CharlesBillingsley.com.
That's right.
Tickets still available, and it's going to be an amazing show once again.
Well, I want you to come, Rich. I'm going to give you a free ticket right here, right now. So you bring whoever you want to bring.
I'm there.
Come on, let's go.
I'm there. I look forward to it.
Great.
It's been such a pleasure getting to know you. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for all the kind questions. I mean, you know, you do a great job just asking probing questions that are meaningful, not just to me, but hopefully people that are listening. But I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you for doing it. And good luck with everything. I know it's a busy time of year for you.
It is, but it's also a lot of fun. So looking forward to it.
Charles Billingsley joining me here on No Holds Barred.